Ethan wiped the sweat from his brow as twilight painted the forest in shades of amber and violet. His camping trip had taken him deeper into the woods than planned, but he didn't mind. The solitude was exactly what he needed after months of city chaos. He was setting up his small camp when he heard it, a soft whimper, almost human but not quite. Following the sound through a thicket of silver birch trees, he found her. She crouched behind a fallen log, her body tense like a cornered animal. But this was no ordinary creature. She had the face of a young woman, beautiful, with high cheekbones and full lips, but her ears were pointed and fox-like, twitching at every sound. Auburn fur covered her arms and legs, and a magnificent tail, thick and russet-colored, wrapped protectively around her body. Their eyes met. Hers were amber, wide with fear and something else, hunger. "Hey," Ethan said softly, raising his palms. "I'm not going to hurt you." She didn't move, didn't speak. He noticed her trembling, saw how her ribs pressed against her skin beneath the fur. When had she last eaten? Slowly, he backed away toward his camp, never taking his eyes off her. She watched him with that same mixture of terror and desperate hope. At his pack, he retrieved his dinner, grilled chicken, fresh bread, and an apple, food he'd picked up that morning from a village market. He returned to the clearing and set the food on a flat stone, then retreated several paces. "It's for you," he said gently. "Please. You look like you need it more than I do." Minutes passed. The forest held its breath. Then, with movements as fluid as water, she emerged from behind the log. She moved on all fours at first, more fox than woman, approaching the food with extreme caution. When she finally reached it, she grabbed the chicken and tore into it with sharp teeth, eating ravenously. Ethan watched, mesmerized by the way her tail swished with each bite, by the little sounds of satisfaction she made. After she'd eaten everything, she licked her fingers clean, then looked at him directly for the first time. Really looked at him. Her expression had changed, the fear was still there, but now mixed with confusion and curiosity. She tilted her head, studying him as if trying to solve a puzzle. Then, to his complete surprise, she spoke. Her voice was melodic but unused, the words shaped carefully as if each one required effort. "Why, help me." Ethan's heart skipped. "Because you needed it. Because it's the right thing to do." She continued staring, and he could almost see the wheels turning behind those amber eyes. Then, before he could say anything else, she turned and vanished into the darkening forest, leaving only the rustle of leaves in her wake. He didn't expect to see her again. He was wrong. 3 days passed. Ethan had extended his camping trip, though he wouldn't admit to himself why. Each evening, he found himself glancing toward the thicket where he'd first seen her, hoping for another glimpse of those amber eyes. On the fourth night, as he sat by his fire sketching the surrounding landscape, he heard footsteps. Not the cautious prowling from before, these were deliberate, purposeful. She emerged from the shadows into his firelight, and Ethan's breath caught. She walked upright now, more confidently, though her movements still carried that otherworldly grace. She wore what looked like a dress woven from leaves and silver moss, clinging to curves that were decidedly feminine. Her tail swished behind her, and in her hands, she carried something wrapped in large leaves. "You," she said, her voice stronger now. "You stayed." Yes." Ethan set down his sketchbook, slowly standing. "I hoped I might see you again. I'm Ethan." She cocked her head, considering the name. "Ethan. I am Kira." She pronounced it with a slight trill, "Kira." "Kira," he repeated, and was rewarded with a small smile that made his chest tighten. She approached the fire and knelt gracefully, setting the leaf-wrapped bundle between them. "You gave food. My kind, we do not forget debts. I bring gift." With delicate fingers, she unwrapped the leaves. Inside were fruits Ethan had never seen, luminescent berries that glowed faintly blue, roots that smelled of honey and cinnamon, and what looked like translucent strips of meat that shimmered in the firelight. "From my forest," Kara explained, a hint of pride in her voice. "These grow where moonlight touches sacred ground." This, she held up the shimmering meat, from the spirit deer. "Very rare. Very precious. Kira, this is. I can't accept something so valuable."
I just gave you some chicken and you gave when I had nothing. Her amber eyes locked onto his with an intensity that made him forget how to breathe. You asked nothing. Expected nothing. This is worth more than rare food. This is worth everything. The sincerity in her voice moved him in ways he couldn't quite name. Then, thank you. Will you share it with me? Her ears perked up, genuine surprise crossing her features. You want me to stay? I do. Very much. Something shifted in the air between them. Kira moved closer, settling beside him rather than across the fire. Close enough that he could smell her, like rain on pine needles, like wild honey in earth. As they ate together, she told him about her world in halting sentences. About the fox clans who lived in the deep forest, about the magic that flowed through certain places, about her isolation from her kind for reasons she wouldn't yet explain. And with each word, each shy glance, Ethan felt something growing between them, something that transcended the boundaries of their different worlds. The nights began to blur together in a dreamlike haze. Kira came to Ethan's camp each evening, staying longer each time. She taught him words in her language, sounds that seemed to harmonize with the forest itself. He taught her more human speech, delighted by the way her nose wrinkled when she struggled with certain words. On the seventh night, rain came suddenly, a summer storm that turned the forest into a drumming symphony. Kira appeared at his tent entrance, soaked, her fur plastered against her skin and her dress clinging in ways that made Ethan's mouth go dry. Come in, he said quickly, holding the flap open. You'll catch cold. She crawled inside, and the tent suddenly felt impossibly small. He grabbed his spare blanket, draping it around her shoulders, trying not to notice how the fabric outlined her form. Thank you, she murmured, but she was shaking, not from cold, he realized, but from something else. Tension. Anticipation. Kira? What's wrong? She looked up at him, and in the dim light of his camping lantern, her eyes gleamed with an emotion he recognized because he felt it too. Among my kind, she began slowly, when two souls share food 7 times under the moon, it means something. A bond. A choosing. Ethan's heart hammered. Choosing? To be together. To trust completely. Her tail wrapped around her own waist, a nervous gesture. I did not think of this when I first came. But now. Ethan, I think of you always. When I am in my den, I think of your smile. Your kindness. The way you look at me like I am not strange. Not wrong. You're not wrong, he whispered, reaching out to cup her face. Her skin was impossibly soft beneath the fine fur. You're beautiful. You're incredible. I've been going crazy trying not to tell you that. Her pupils dilated, and she leaned into his touch with a small sound that sent heat coursing through him. In my world, there is a way we seal such bonds. May I show you? He nodded, incapable of speech. Kira moved closer, her hands coming up to rest against his chest. She could probably feel his racing heart. Then, with a gentleness that contradicted the fierce wildness in her eyes, she pressed her forehead to his. Warmth flooded through him, not just physical heat, but something deeper, magical. It felt like the forest itself was acknowledging their connection, blessing it. Images flashed through his mind, Kara as a kit, learning to hunt. Her exile from her clan for being too curious about the human world. Her loneliness. Her hope. When she pulled back, there were tears on her cheeks. You see now. You see me. I see you, Ethan confirmed. Then, unable to hold back any longer, he kissed her. She melted against him, all soft sighs and eager touches, her tail wrapping around his waist as the storm raged outside and a different kind of tempest built between them. The rain had stopped, but neither of them noticed. Kara's lips were like nothing Ethan had ever experienced, soft yet wild, tasting of honey and moonlight and something indefinably her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, her eyes had gone dark with desire. Ethan, she breathed, her fingers curling into his shirt. Among my kind, once the bond begins, we do not stop halfway. Is this what you want? Truly? In answer, he traced his fingers along the edge of her jaw, down her neck,
feeling her pulse race beneath his touch.
I've wanted this since the moment I saw you. I just didn't think, didn't dare hope. A growl, low and pleased, rumbled in her chest. Then let me show you how the fox can love.
She pressed him back onto the sleeping bag with surprising strength, her body covering his. The blanket fell away, and Ethan's hands found the fastenings of her leaf dress, fumbling with the unfamiliar knots until she laughed, a sound like wind chimes, and helped him, shrugging it off with fluid grace. She was breathtaking. The fur that covered her arms and legs was softer than silk, and where skin showed through it gleamed in the lamplight. Her body was lean and strong, built for hunting and running, but curved in all the ways that made him ache with want. "You are beautiful," he whispered, trailing his hands down her sides. She shivered under his touch, her tail lashing with pleasure. "And you," she murmured, her clever fingers working at his clothes, "are mine now.
My human. My choice."
The possessiveness in her voice sent fire through his veins. When they were finally skin to skin and fur, Kira took her time exploring him, mapping his body with touches that were curious and confident in turn. Her tail wrapped around his thigh, surprisingly prehensile, as her lips traced patterns across his chest. "In my culture," she whispered against his skin, "we bite to mark our chosen ones."
"May I?"
"Yes," he gasped, beyond caring about anything except her touch, her scent, the intoxicating wildness of her. When her teeth grazed his shoulder, not breaking skin but marking nonetheless, pleasure shot through him so intensely he saw stars. She made that purring sound again, pleased with his reaction, and shifted her hips against his in a way that made coherent thought impossible. What followed was instinct and magic intertwined, Kira moving above him with the grace of her fox nature, teaching him the rhythm of her kind, whispering words in her language that he felt more than understood. Each touch was a revelation, each kiss a promise. When they finally came together, truly joined, the tent seemed to glow with a soft light. Kira threw her head back, her auburn hair cascading down her back, and Ethan felt the bond between them solidify into something unbreakable. They moved together until the world narrowed to just the two of them, until they both shattered into pleasure so intense it felt like transformation. They lay tangled together as dawn crept through the tent, Kira's tail wrapped possessively around Ethan's waist, her head on his chest. He stroked her hair absently, marveling at how right this felt, how completely his life had changed in just over a week. "What happens now?" he asked quietly. "I have to leave eventually. Go back to the city, to my life. But I don't want to lose this. Lose you." Kira lifted her head, those amber eyes meeting his with an intensity that stole his breath. "The bond we made, it cannot be broken by distance. I will always know where you are. Feel what you feel." She placed a hand over his heart. "And you will know me. But I want more than just feeling you. I want you with me." Her ears flattened slightly, uncertainty crossing her features. "The human world. I know little of it. Would they accept one like me? Or would they fear?" Ethan sat up, bringing her with him, cradling her face in his hands. "I won't lie, it would be complicated. But Kira, the world is changing. There are places where people are more open-minded than you'd think. And if anyone gave you trouble, they'd have to go through me first." She smiled at that, a full smile that showed her sharp canines. "My fierce human. So protective already." Then her expression grew serious. "There is something I must tell you. The reason my clan exiled me. I wanted to build bridges. To learn about humans, to find ways our worlds could coexist. They called me a dreamer. Foolish. They said humans would only bring destruction. And now I know they were wrong. You showed me that kindness transcends species. That love." She paused, testing the word, love can bloom between the most unlikely souls. Ethan pulled her close, kissing her forehead. "Then come with me. Not forever, not all at once. But visit. Let me show you my world the way you showed me yours. We'll figure it out together." Kira was quiet for a long moment, her tail curling and uncurling with thought. Then she nodded. "Yes. Together. But Ethan, you must come to my forest too. Meet my people. Perhaps if they see what we have, see that it is real and good, others might follow.
We could be the bridge I always dreamed of building.
A bridge made of shared meals and trust, Ethan said softly, remembering how this all began with a simple act of kindness.
And love, Kara added, nuzzling against his neck. Do not forget the love.
As the sun rose fully, painting their tent in golden light, they held each other close. Two beings from different worlds, brought together by food, bound by choice, and united by a love that proved even the widest divides could be crossed, one meal, one moment of kindness, one willing heart at a time.